Joe Biden has cruised to victory in his first primary contest for the Democratic Party's nomination for president. The US president secured more than 96% of the vote in the state of South Carolina. Joining me live is former White House Chief of Staff and now Bondi Partners consultant Mick Mulvaney. What, 96%? So who did the other 4% vote for?
A guy named, hi Laura, it's good to see you again. Yes, we had our primary here in South Carolina where I am yesterday. There were two other people on the ballot. Dean Phillips is a successful businessman who's also a Democrat member of Congress from the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then a woman named Marianne Williamson, who is sort of an internet fitness guru, mental health expert, something, kind of a hippie. Together they pulled about 2%, which was stunning. Keep in mind that Joe Biden only got about 80% in New Hampshire. So 96% in South Carolina is much better, I think, than anybody expected.
Okay, yeah, but he doesn't have real competition, does he? What's the point in going through this primary process on the Democrat side?
Well, again, our primary process in this country is essentially supposed to be the way that each party picks their preferred candidate to be on the ticket. So it's supposed to be internal to a party. And even though Joe Biden is the presumptive nominee and the incumbent president, it's open. That race is open technically to anybody who wants to challenge him. So that's why you've seen a couple of folks on the ballots. But really what it comes down to is, I think what you saw here in South Carolina, there's a lot of narrative in this country, around the world, about how so many people don't want a Trump versus Biden rematch. Well, those people had a chance to vote yesterday for someone other than Joe Biden. Democrats did in South Carolina, and they chose to vote for Joe Biden. So it looks like, as much as people say they don't like the candidates, we are barreling towards a Trump versus Biden rematch.
Yeah, we certainly are. And there's now a lot of, there has been for some time that Joe Biden is just too old. He doesn't have the cognitive ability that he once had. So if Trump is re-elected, the Democrats are to blame, aren't they?
The way I look at it, Laura, I mean, you never can tell. We're a long way from November. In many ways, it's very close, but in many ways, it's a long way off, and so much can happen. But the way I explain it to people around the world is, somehow we have ended up in a situation where the Democrats are going to nominate the only person who could lose to Donald Trump, and the Republicans are going to nominate the only person who could lose to Joe Biden. It's going to be a very, very close election. I think, and a lot of other people agree, including polling would suggest that if the Democrats would put up somebody younger, he or she would crush Donald Trump. And if the Republicans put up somebody younger, they would crush Joe Biden. But that's not the way the primary voters right now want to go.
No, you're right. And it's a long time till November. I remember the midterms and that being such a poor showing for Trump-backed candidates that, at the time, Joe Biden was the only man to be able to beat Donald Trump if he was to recontest the presidency. And here we are. And I should say, if Donald Trump wins, Republicans will have the Democrats to thank or blame, depending on which side of the fence you are. Talk to me about this theory about Michelle Obama being kind of the saviour here, and at the end of the primary process, she could somehow, be ushered in. Could that work?
It works, but it's probably not reality. It works because it's technically. It's technically possible that Joe Biden could become the nominee, and then either he could pass away, he could resign, he could choose not to run again, and then after July, the party leadership would essentially get to pick his replacement, and Michelle Obama's name comes up. So it's technically possible. What I think people who are pushing this sort of narrative haven't asked is whether or not the Obamas have any interest in it whatsoever. I was speaking at an event in Washington, D.C. over the weekend with the former governor, a very high-level Democrat, and I asked him, I said, what about this Michelle Obama stuff? He said, Mick, absolutely no way. These folks are sick of politics. They like their privacy. They are very, very wealthy, and they're very, very happy. Michelle Obama is not coming back into the White House.
But even if it wasn't Michelle Obama, Mick, I mean, even if it wasn't Michelle Obama, this would be a less messy way for the Democrats to get someone else in other than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, couldn't it? Or am I in conspiracy theory territory?
Well, it's not conspiracy theory. Listen, you're not the only one doing this. When you have two candidates who are approaching 80 or in their 80s, you're going to have this conversation. But keep in mind, how do the Democrats explain to people if they don't pick Kamala Harris? If Joe Biden leaves and she's the sitting vice president as an African-American woman, how do they not pick her? So it sounds like it's a lot less messy. It actually could be a lot more messy. One of the reasons Joe Biden is doing so well is he's the less messy option right now for the Democrats.
And that's where we are in 2024, this far out from the presidential election. It is going to be quite a year, Mick Mulvaney. I'm glad to have you with us. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, LJ.